Good morning, fellow Plexers. Today we're going to help Rakesh from the Plexaholics group figure out how to get a Plex music library going. This is his post. Plex is a pain when it comes to music and metadata. Everything is scrambled or not showing up. For being a badass app, it's sad it can't handle wave metadata. Well, I think it can, but like any other file type, MP3, FLAC, you need to have robust metadata or mild metadata that Plex's music scanners can work with. Now, I've never tried to add any music to my music library without any embedded metadata, so I want to run that test today. So I'm at the Plex support article, adding music media from folders. I've never depended on folder structure like you would with a movie or TV show library. I've always depended on embedded metadata that's still in good folder structure. So this article basically says that we can just have structure like that. So this is what I'm going to copy, this. So we've got a music folder. We've got the music album name, and then inside that we're going to have files, but we're going to name them like this: O1 space dash space the song, and just see how that works. And I'm using Rubber Soul as an example today. So what I have is I have a folder of WAV files that are just named for what they are. There's no embedded metadata. And I have another copy of that album with light embedded metadata. And how I can check that is through MusicBrainz Picard. Now, every single previous Plex music video I've done has used MusicBrainz Picard. This will look up and then inject robust metadata into your albums. So I've dragged both of them in. I'll hit cluster, and this one is our wave no metadata sample. So if I expand that album and look at the first song, all you see is a song title, and it's not even properly formatted because the file name is O1 space dash space drive my car, which leaves a dash space before the title. But there's no reference to what album this is from. Now, if I go to the FLAC example, this is better. This has light metadata embedded into it. So I will add both of these separately to a test Plex music library, and then I'll inject better metadata into them and see how they scan. So we'll do 4 scans of this one album. And to be honest with you, this is just a test WAV file that I've copied 14 times and renamed. This isn't actual music, while this is the actual album. But that really doesn't make a difference. All right, so let's remove both of these from MusicBrainz Picard and bring up Plex, which is off screen. So this is on my older Synology NAS with a test server running in Docker container. And I have just a few public domain albums in this small test library. So it really doesn't matter if you sort by artist or albums. We'll leave it at artist for now. And let's go into the settings of the library. Manage, edit. I believe this is all default, so it's pointing to this folder. And let's see here. I don't think I've changed anything here. Now you could check prefer local metadata, but then you need robust metadata embedded into your WAV files. And Rakesh obviously doesn't have that if things aren't scanning properly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have a complaint. So that's our setup. Okay, so we're going to take the basic WAV version that has no embedded metadata. Let me copy it. And I've already created a folder for the artist called The Beatles. Let's paste that in. We'll go back to Plex, and we'll scan the library. All right, my main server is scanning the music library too, as I am on this test server. So nothing happened when I scanned the library. Watch, I'll do it again. Nothing at all. So if I go into the artist and click to folders, I can drop in and I can see that those files are here, but they didn't match. Well, just like you can fix match something, you can fix match something in this music library too. But I have to be in the folder view. And I think I have to be at the song level. No. Can I do it? Analyze does nothing. Maybe I can't fix match this because Plex doesn't see it at all. Yeah, there's no option to get on the album itself. Well, that's my mistake. I thought I could fix match, but that might only be for a bad match. So I'm kind of stuck. I can't do anything. Let's get on a folder view. And let's remove this. We'll put it back. Well, actually, let's bring it over to my desktop. Let's go back in and rescan. Oh, let's... All right, so my videos aren't scripted, and sometimes I'm learning like you are. Let's put this back in. Maybe I can fix match this. Let's rescan again. Okay, so I have an unknown album under the various artist view. So this will depend how you're looking at it. From the artist view, various artists, I can go in and here's an unknown album. And if I click into it, here are my files. So you can fix match this. So I can drop down. Well, maybe I can't fix match it. Oh, I can match it. So there's no matches found. If I do my own search, get rid of the year and search, let's see what options I come up with. All right, so the top one seems to be a match. The bottom one, well, these are a match too, but there's no poster showing. So I'll just pick this one. So we got the album in, but we did it the hard way. And that's not what we want. We don't want to match every single album we add to a Plex music library. And that doesn't account for what happens if there's metadata that's bad that splits songs apart from their actual album. Maybe these songs are contained on other albums too, and somebody else grabbed each song from different albums to make their own Frankenstein version of Rubber Soul. Well, those songs will have their original metadata, and they won't add as Rubber Soul. They'll add as bits and pieces of other albums. So you have to be careful. You really want to check metadata. But this is the manual way, and to fix a match, that's the crutch. Just like fix match with a Windows or, I'm sorry, with a movie or TV show library is a crutch. If your Plex server dies, but your media stays intact and you have to point a new Plex server at the media, you have a lot of work to redo. it might be easy to think that you can use the match or the fixed match feature slowly as you add one album or one episode or one movie at a time. But if you build a large collection over years and then your server dies and you have to point a new one at it, you'll go crazy trying to repair that. So it's best to structure everything to add properly. All right, so let's remove this. Let's get a clean slate with this music library. All right, we're in my troubleshooting. Let's clean the bundles. This is basically the Plex dance we're doing. And then let's add in this, the one that's light on metadata. And now we'll scan again. So the artist is already coming up. We did not get an artist poster. Let me refresh all metadata. So that would have happened manually in the background before waiting too long. All right, so we have the Beatles. We have some popular tracks, which were all coming from the One Rubber Soul album that we just added. And with this group of songs just having some common metadata between them, Plex knew what it was and could scan it in. We did not need robust metadata for this album for Plex to scan it in. Scan it in first try. All we did was help with the artist poster, but again, that would have came by itself because Plex occasionally refreshes the metadata. So let's remove that. Put it back at this level. Let's rescan. Let's rescan the library. Don't know why it said cancel scan. And then let's do the Plex dance again. Troubleshooting, clean bundles. Now, in order to use MusicBrainz Picard, I have to move these albums back to my computer. I can't use MusicBrainz Picard on the NAS. All right, so I have another version, MP3s with some metadata. I'm not going to bother with that. So let's get MusicBrainz Picard up here, and let's throw in the WAV files, because some people think there's no metadata to put, or you can't put tags in a WAV file. All right, so this is how you use MusicBrainz Picard. You hit cluster. And just like we looked before, you can look at each song, and the metadata is really lousy. Now, you could use MusicBrainz Picard manually. You could right-click and add tags, but we're going to search for Rubber Soul. And I already have it typed out here. So I'll search. And let's see. Let's search by date. Let's take this CD. So I'll double click it. It loads up in MusicBrainz Picard. When you see the note here in green, it means we don't have anything. So what I'll do is I'll just collapse this and I'll drag the whole thing and drop it on the album title. And when you see the green rectangle, that means MusicBrainz Picard thinks it's a good match. So now I'm going to click on the whole album and just hit save. And if we look, now we've got robust metadata in each WAV file. So let's pull this out. And let's drag this back in to see what happens. Now, because it has robust metadata and it's already matched to the database MusicBrainz Picard is using, that Plex also uses, it pops right in with a gold CD icon to show that it's good metadata. And if we look at it, again, it all stuck. The only thing that's not matching is the track length, because these are just dummy WAV files to represent the music album. So let's remove that. And let's work on the FLAC album. We'll cluster. And again, we see that each song has some minor metadata, and that did scan properly into Plex. Well, this time I'll scan, because there's enough metadata for MusicBrainz Picard to now identify it, and it's put some songs into different versions. See, there's the green poster or the green rectangle for Nowhere Man and What Goes On. And 5 out of 12 means there's 5 matches here, and 6 out of 14 means there's 6 matches there. Well, if I click into it, I can kind of scroll down and, okay, this is a vinyl rip from this Capitol release. This is a 12-inch vinyl. So it's all finding the 12-inch vinyl. So again, I could search over here if I didn't like any of those choices. And let me sort it by date again. Maybe I like this one again. I'll double click on it, and suddenly that pops in. So then what I can do is I can hold my control key down, pick all 3 of these, and drag them onto that. And now I'm back to where I was with a WAV example. So click on that, save the info, and now there's robust metadata. But again, the basic metadata was enough. So let's remove all that. So let's rename these now. Let's copy these back to my Synology NAS. I could have just copied them right in. Let's copy or cut and paste both of them into the Beatles. I'll show you what happens when you have 2 of the same albums. All right, so now we're going to scan the library. The Plex Music Library will not scan in duplicates of the same album because there could be different release versions of it. So it is different than a movie or a TV show library. All right, so we found the artist, and now I have 2 different versions of this album. Everything's scanned in properly, and you see this is the WAV one because they were short dummy files, 5 seconds long. And this is the FLAC version, which is what you would have on yours. So even with a WAV file, you can inject metadata into it with MusicBrainz Picard. And Rakesh, it's sort of a labor of love, but you have to prep your media for Plex to scan it in. And let's go back to the naming document. So I look things up at Discogs. That's my go-to database to check an album. I really don't know what to say about this naming guide. This is a deficiency on Plex's part because I can't add things simply based on folder structure. There has to be an element of basic embedded metadata for my music library to find things. But you can fix match something, which I did stumble over in the beginning of this video. You have to fix match it through finding the album in the various artists folder, which I discovered. But a Plex music library is really a nice thing. So while we're in Plex, Well, let's do it differently. Let me bring up the HTPC client app for this Linux desktop. It opened off screen. Let me show you my real music library. I don't know why the watch list has a triangle. Okay, so here's my recommended tab. Now let's go to the library tab. So I am missing some things. So I've got some issues with my own library. It's huge. This artist is 70s singer-songwriter, and that means this needs to have a manual adjustment with MusicBrainz Picard to change this to various artists. So I'll have to find that album and pull it out and adjust it. For some reason, this tribute album isn't matching with Gloria Estefan. It's got a weird artist called Absolute. So I have a little work to do myself. This is a various artist one that should be adjusted. I'll have to adjust the metadata for that. We're looking at what the work I need to do as I search for the Beatles here in my collection. So here's all my Beatles albums. There's Rubber Soul. Here's some singles and EPs. That's the newest Beatles song that was made from old recordings of something John Lennon was working on. And here's a live album, and here's some soundtrack, and here's some compilations. So with the right and robust metadata, things really do work out nice. All right, Rakesh, I hope you give it a different try with the understanding of what you need to get your music in. And I do agree, this, if you've looked at this support article, it really makes you think something can happen that I haven't found to be true. This structure is nice, but you need at least some basic tags that are correct and matching across all the songs, so it identifies as both the artist and the album. That's really all you need for Plex to find it. If Plex doesn't find it in a database to match, say it's a compilation album of your own, as long as the metadata has various artists, as long as it has whatever album name you want to give it, as long as all the songs have that information, and you can embed your own custom album cover into all the songs, Plex will scan that in as a custom album. And what it won't have an album description like we have here, but it will add the album properly. So I do have other MusicBrainz Picard videos that you can watch to how to get custom albums in. But if this is the beginning journey for you with Plex, with a music library, you've got a lot of fun ahead, because Plex is a nice way to store all your music. A lot of people love the Plex amp iOS or Android phone or tablet app. There's even a Plex amp one for my Linux desktop. I think I've got it installed. So you can have it on your computer too, or your laptop. I'm not signed into it, but Plex is really great for all your media. All right, everybody, thanks for watching, and happy Plexing.